everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Logan. If you have never been here before, I make lots and lots of videos, basically whatever I'm feeling. I call myself a lifestyle channel, but lately it's been a lot of Taylor Swift and movies because it's quarantine. I don't have anything else to do with my time, so here we are with another Taylor Swift video. So Folklore came out when I'm filming this. It's been almost a week. It is Wednesday, July 29th. And so it's been almost a week since it came out. And I feel like this is an album, like all of her albums you have to analyze after you listen to them a few times. But I feel like this album in particular, I needed a week to fully like absorb it and connect it and kind of work my way through it. And I felt like it kind of needed a video because this is a deep album. This is arguably her best work in my opinion. I still don't know if I can put it above Red because I'm so emotionally attached to that album. It came out at a time in my life that was so perfect, which kind of sounds weird because it was 2012 and I was in 5th grade, but like that was the album that made me fall in love with Taylor Swift completely and made me go full-on Swiftie. I listened to it every day after school with my grandma in the car, and me, my sister, and my grandma all know all the words. So I just am very emotionally attached to that album, but I can say that like lyrically and like production wise, this is her best album. It's definitely my second favorite album, if not my favorite. I just can't decide that yet, but you just can't argue. Like this album is a complete work of genius. I was telling all of my friends to listen to it and they were like, well, you always say that her albums are good, you always say that they're, you know, a work of genius, but I'm like, no, I actually like physically mean it this time. Like this album, if it was made by another artist, it would still be genius. Like it's so, I don't know how her brain comes up with this stuff, let alone in 4 months. But we're gonna analyze it. That's why I think this needs a video. So this is the first album that Miss Swift has released that is officially alternative. Alternative is my favorite genre of music, and it's what I have most of on my phone. Someone is mowing the lawn, but it's what I have most of on my phone. So I was very excited for this album, and I'm still so in awe of it. And it's all I've been listening to. It is all I had been listening to up until yesterday. I started listening to different music because my mom was in the car with me, but like Thursday through Monday, that's all I had listened to. I'm like, no joke, like my whole history was just Folklore on shuffle. It's very bad. That's what I needed though. I needed to learn the lyrics, number one, and number two, I needed to fully absorb it and like get all the connections that she had because there are so many people. There are so many. So we're gonna start with the first album, or the first song on the album, which happens to be my favorite, and it's The One. Haven't seen my reaction video, go check it out before you watch this one because I feel like it will kind of help get the gist, because I'm gonna bring in some of my reactions to the songs and stuff from the past video. But One, I like to say that all of her songs are up for interpretation, and I know that it's been like 7 years, but I think the fandom knows that this one's about Harry Styles. Like I don't know who else this would be about. The fandom pretty much agrees that this one is about Harry Styles. The thing about Folklore is that she said that it's kind of a mixture of different stories, some fictional and some real. So I think most of the songs are fictitious, but this one, there is no way, absolutely no way. Let's dive into the lyrics. We're gonna analyze. First of all, one of my favorite lyrics from the album is in the song, and it's, "But we were something, don't you think so?" I love that lyric. But I think the thing that really proves that it's about Taylor, and I think that this could be argued, but it's, oh, the greatest loves of all time are over now. And I think that that kind of really speaks to the whole situation, just because 1989 was all about him when the relationship was over, and Taylor is still heavily talked about today. Like we can't act like it isn't. Like it is still heavily talked about. So I feel like that kind of is what through me, and I think it kind of just has the vibe of it. Like that's just, I don't know, like I don't know who else it would be about. I feel like that song's self-explanatory. We're gonna move on. The next one is Cardigan. Now the cool thing about this album is there are actually 3 songs in it that are from a fictional standpoint of 3 perspectives of 3 teenagers in a love triangle, and they are Cardigan, Betty, and August. And Cardigan is the single. If you haven't watched the music video, go watch it. Cardigan is from Betty's perspective, I believe. It's supposed to be from Betty's perspective. So there's Betty, James, and then there's the other girl who's never named. I don't think, don't quote me on that, but I don't think she's ever named. And Cardigan is from Betty's perspective, and she's talking about James. I was on TikTok and I saw that Phoebe in an episode of Friends, which is one of Taylor Swift's favorite shows, she loves that show, she references it all the time. Phoebe says, I wrote a song about 3 teenagers and one of them is named Betty or something like that. So she got the name Betty from that. That's not a coincidence, that can't be. But anyway, Cardigan is the first perspective, and the way we know this, that they're connected, is because of the lyrics that she uses. So she says, chase 2 girls, lose the one. So that's like a love triangle reference. Can we just talk about, this isn't like a reference to another song, but can we just talk about the lyric, try to change the ending, Peter losing Wendy? I get chills every time I listen to that. That is so good. The song is called Cardigan, and in another song, someone mentions a cardigan. So we're going to jump over to those other 2 songs really fast because I think that will make more sense. So we're going to go to August, which is the 8th track on Folklore. August is supposedly from the other girl's perspective. So the third person in the love triangle that James cheated on Betty with. So know this because she says, because you were never mine. She says, remember when I pulled up and I said get in the car, which is referenced in another one of the love triangle songs. And then she says, and then canceled my plans just in case you call. What I kind of get from that is like, he never knew if he was going to be free because of Betty. Me behind the mall is like a secret spot, so they're not seen together. We're going to jump to Betty, which is from James' perspective, and he's singing to Betty. This is very confusing, I'm sorry. Also, in this song, Taylor Swift uses Blake Lively's kids' names. So James and Inez are Blake Lively's kids' names, and I just think that's so cute. In this song, one of the lyrics from James' perspective is, she said, James, get in, let's drive, which is a reference to the car lyric in August. It says, slept next to her, but I dreamt of you all summer long. August, the other girl. And he says at the very end, standing in your cardigan. This woman, I'm blown away. So that was the little love triangle songs, and we know that those are fictitious. The next one is track 3, and it's called The Last Great American Dynasty. This one is really interesting because it's not at all what I expected when I first listened to it. The Last Great American Dynasty is about the history of her Rhode Island house. Her Rhode Island house is beautiful. It looks over a beach. It is so pretty. And I actually had to do some research on this one because when I first listened to it, if you watch my reaction video, I was so confused. I didn't know who any of these people were. The song, she says, the first lyric she says is, Rebecca rode up on the afternoon train. It was sunny. Picked out a home and called it Holiday House. Rebecca gave up on the Rhode Island set forever. So she says Rhode Island and she says Rebecca. Someone did research on TikTok. This is where it gets a little confusing. And like looked up who Rebecca was. And they found out that she was nicknamed Betty. So either she got the name Betty from Rebecca or she got the name Betty from Friends. I don't really know. But I don't think that Betty and The Last Great American Dynasty are connected. I just think that she used that name, if anything. One lyric that stood out to me after listening to it a few times was, she says, there goes the maddest woman this town has ever seen. And she has a song called Mad Woman, about a mad woman in a town. So the connections that these songs have are very hard to figure out. I think Mad Woman maybe could be about Rebecca, but I also think that it could just have an influence of that or not be about that at all. Taylor also tends to use film references a lot in the songs, and that's something that I picked up on really fast when I was reacting. I was like, that's like the 8th time she said film, so those songs might all be connected. The 4th song is Exile featuring Bon Iver. This song I think is probably the one that's the most up in the air within the fandom currently. I think it's kind of argued a lot about what it's about, and I'm like torn. I really don't know. Have said that it's about Harry. People have said that it is not based on her life at all. I know it is a very, very beautiful song. You should definitely give it a listen if you haven't. In this song she says, I think I've seen this film before, and she mentions in the one She says, you know, the greatest films of all time were never made, so that could be a connection, and that might be why people think it's about Harry. She also said, we always walked a very thin line, which people said is a reference to fine line. I feel like if she wanted it to be a reference to fine line, she would have said thin line, or if she wanted to be a reference to fine line, she would have said fine line and not thin line. People, I saw someone say that when she says so many signs, it's supposed to be a reference to Sign of the Times, and I think that that is such a reach. That is really reaching. So I think this is definitely the most up in the air song, but one of my favorite lyrics in the album is from this song, and it's, "You're not my homeland anymore, so what am I defending now?" Track 5, which I think, other than All Too Well, is her best track 5, and it's My Tears Ricochet. Convinced, and I think pretty much everyone else is convinced, that this is about her life, and it's about the whole situation with Scott Borchetta and Scooter Braun. I know this for sure, obviously, because Taylor is not going to tell us anything about this album, let's be honest. But the reason that people think it's about that whole situation with her not getting to own her songs because of these lyrics. Says that if I'm on fire, you'll be made of ashes too. I'm dead to you, why are you at the wake? Cursing my name, wishing I stayed, look at how my tears ricochet. So she left the record label, and now they're losing money because she's obviously not in the record label anymore. Then it says, you wear the same jewels that I gave you as you bury me. So they get to keep her music as they're bringing her down. And I never really thought about this, but I saw on Twitter somewhere, and I'm sorry, I don't have credit for these people, I just saw it and it goes into my brain, my little Taylor Swift vault in my brain, but it says, and I can go anywhere I want, just not home. And I think someone on Twitter said that this is a reference to how in her new label she's allowed to be free and, you know, drop albums suddenly, but she can't go home. And home could be like a reference to her old label, but it could also be a reference to her old music and how she doesn't get to own that. There's another lyric that says, you hear my and when you can't sleep at night, you hear my stolen lullabies, and stolen lullabies could be the music that she doesn't have. Next is track 6, and it's Mirror Ball. This song I haven't really seen talked about a lot. I feel like a lot of people put it last on their rankings. It's not last on mine. I actually kind of really like this song, but I also feel like it's not talked about because I think it's a pretty transparent and straightforward theme and message. I think that this is kind of just a love song talking about how she's allowed to be herself in front of, you know, supposedly Joe Alwyn, which I believe that this song is about that. She says, I know they said the end is near, but I'm still on my tallest tiptoes, spinning in my highest heels, love, shining just for you. I want you to know I'm a mirror ball, I'll show you every version of myself tonight. And next song is 7, and I fully believe that this one is fictitious, or she took a little bit of influence from her own life. And I think this is because it's basically about when she was, I think, 7 years old, or when she was really, really young. It could be when she was 7 years old, but she references 7 in like 7 feet high, like in the trees. So I definitely think this is about her childhood, or it's about a character that she made up with her childhood influences. Say with Pennsylvania under me, so that could be a clue that she did use influences from her own life, or maybe it is completely real and it's about a childhood crush when she was younger, or a like neighborhood friend. Chorus is sweet tea in the summer, cross your heart won't tell no other, and though I can't recall your face, I still got love for you. Probably one of my favorite choruses rhythm wise. Like, it's sweet tea in the summer, cross your heart won't tell no other. I get that stuck in my head all the time. She does say love you to the moon and to Saturn, which is one of my favorite lyrics from the album. And then she also says passed down like folk songs, which is a reference to folklore, obviously. Song is August, and we already did that one, so we're gonna do track 9, which is This Is Me Trying. I think this is also one of the songs that's pretty self-explanatory, and I think that this song is about her. I don't think that it's made up or anything like that. But this song is just saying, you know, this is me trying to have a good relationship is kind of what I get from it. She says at the beginning, I've been having a hard time adjusting. I had the shiniest wheels, now they're rusting. Kind of take that as a metaphor for, you know, being at the top of the world in the music industry and everyone bringing her down with the hate. Number 10 is Illicit Affairs, and if you watch me react to this in my reaction video, it threw me for a loop. I was really vibing to it, and then it got really dark, and I was like, but Illicit Affairs, I fully, wholeheartedly believe that it is about Joe Alwyn, or her relationship with Joe Alwyn, especially with the verse at the beginning when she says, make sure nobody sees you leave, hood over your head, keep your eyes down, tell your friends you're out for a run, you'll be flushed when you return. I think that that is definitely about her relationship with Joe, especially in the Reputation era when she kind of went off the grid and we first started hearing about Joe. Pictures of him would literally be with his hood over his head and his head down. So there's no way that that isn't about him, at least the beginning part. The part where it gets confusing is a little bit later in the song, and this is kind of the part that threw me for a loop because I was like, this is a cute little song, I'm just kind of vibing to it. But then it says, they show their truth one single time, but they lie and they lie and they lie a million little times, and you want to scream, don't call me kid, don't call me baby, look at this godforsaken mess that you made me. I have been trying to figure out if she's like referencing that to the media and to the public or to him. Like, I think it could go either way. And then she says, you taught me a secret language I can't speak with anyone else. So that's a good thing. So I'm like, I don't know. This song's confusing. And it's hard to analyze because it's giving me mixed messages like a lot of this album. But I think that's what makes it beautiful. It's up for interpretation. Number 11 is one that is slept on, and I love this song, and it's Invisible String. This is in like my top 5. This is such a good song. I love the rhythm of it. I love the beat. This song is definitely, I think, about Jo Alwyn as well. Her boyfriend, her long boyfriend, maybe fiance, maybe husband. I don't know. But it says, there are clues I didn't see, and isn't it just so pretty to think all along there was some invisible string tying you to me, which is one of my favorite lyrics from the album. As bad was the blood of the song in the cab of your first trip to LA. Bold was the waitress on our 3-year trip getting lunch down by the lakes, which is a song that we haven't heard yet on the deluxe edition. Said I looked like an American singer. This song's message is basically just like, your whole life you grow up and then you meet someone, but like the whole time there were little things that were happening in your life that were connecting you to each other. And, you know, she says, bad was the blood of the song in the cab from your first trip to LA. Bad blood. Or he stopped at her favorite restaurant. I think that those references make this song really, really cute, and I just love it. 12 is Mad Woman, and like I said earlier, I think that this could be referring to the last great American dynasty, but I'm not positive. When I first listened to this song, I took it as a story or an extended metaphor for the whole situation with Big Machine. And I could be wrong, and I feel like this song might have multiple influences, maybe taking in some influences from the last great American dynasty and also using her own life in this song and kind of creating this fictional story. One of the songs that make me think that it's kind of about the whole situation with Big Machine and maybe the public and the scrutiny against her in general is, every time you call me crazy, I get more crazy. What about that? And when you say I seem angry, I get more angry, and there's nothing like a mad woman. What a shame she went bad. What a shame she went mad. No one likes a mad woman. You made her like that. I think that kind of really references it. And she says, I think the thing that really tips me off is, it's obvious that wanting me dead has really brought you two together. Scott and Scooter. That's my opinion. Number 13 is Epiphany. I love this song. I love every song on this album, but this is definitely my least favorite. I listen to it the least. I don't dislike it at all. I think it's a very, very good song, but it is my least favorite. I just don't vibe with it as much as I vibe with the others. The song is about her grandfather or her great-grandfather. I think it's her grandfather, I believe, that was in the war, writing from his perspective, which is really cool. Betty, but we already went over that one. So then we have Peace, which is one of my favorite songs on the album. The song, the way I took it, is she's trying to say, like, to Jo specifically, but people that she's with and her friends, and just the people in her life in general, that because she's Taylor Swift, their lives are never going to be simple. One of my favorite lyrics, I have a list of favorite lyrics, and one of the ones that I wrote down was, our coming of age has come and gone. That came at the perfect time in my life right now. But I think what she's trying to say is, like, they're grown up now and they're not kids anymore, and life's just not going to be simple because of who she is. This next lyric has been throwing the fandom for a loop the past few days. It's been all over my timeline, and it says, but there's robbers to the east, clowns to the west. In the lyric video on YouTube, West is capitalized. Just let that sink in. One of my favorite lyrics from this song, not from the album, but from this song in particular, is, but the rain is always gonna come if you're standing with me. The last track on Folklore, number 16, is Hoax. But to be honest, this is the one song that I just can't figure out, and it's because this album is giving so many mixed messages. Like, yeah, I'm assuming she's still with Jo, but the way the songs are, I'm like, is she? Again, all these songs are up for interpretation, and Taylor purposely doesn't tell us what they're about because that's not what's supposed to happen with music. Anyway, that is my analysis on Folklore. Hopefully it made sense. This is just my opinion, my interpretation. I'm taking in research that I have done and then research from stuff I have found online from other Swifties being amazing and freaking FBI. Because we're awesome. This fandom can literally figure out stuff in a second. But I do want to respect Taylor Swift, obviously, because she writes beautiful, phenomenal music, and it should be about what she wants it to be about, and also up for interpretation. So this is just my opinion, my interpretation of it. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about these songs down below. We don't want to get into an argument though, because this music is great and beautiful. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!